No, this doesn't have anything to do with a sci-fi movie, but in today's video, let's talk about what it is like to grow up feeling unseen. What's interesting about it is the kid is not invisible in terms of being physically seen, because after all, they could be extroverts. Those are the attention seekers. Very loud, very outgoing. So one may think, well, that's not invisible. Well, yes, it is if it's based on the fact that nobody wants to hear you or see you. You're feeling very invalidated. Your emotional needs are unheard or unmet. Then yeah, you may be extra loud as a way to say, I'm not going to tolerate this. So if you were raised as an invisible child, it is a tremendously difficult way to grow up. Now, it's difficult on several levels. One level is because you learn early on you have to find other ways to get your needs met because nobody's really paying attention to you or wants to hear anything from you anyhow. So that could be either being rebellious, acting out, of course, on some level, trying to get attention any way you can, or on the flip side, a child just giving up, going along with anything, playing the role of like everything's okay, the wallflower, chameleon, because they don't know what else to do. And also they're thinking, you know what, I'll just have my real life somewhere else. It definitely won't be here at home. So kids that grow up like this get really creative and good at finding other ways to get their needs met. In addition to that, they're learning that it's not safe for them to be who they really are because, after all, they're learning right at home with their own parents that they're invisible. And doing a bit of research on this topic for this video, it's interesting to see how outsiders see this in very different ways than what's really going on, of course. They may see a kid acting very mature for their age. Wow, look at that great kid. They're so responsible, but they're being so responsible perhaps because they've been parentified, taught to just take over a lot of the duties the parents should actually be doing. In this role, the child may feel safe, and so therefore I'm going to keep doing what I need to do to help the family. But how are they truly feeling inside? Invisible, because nobody's really wanting to get to know them, right? They're just playing a role. And part of the role is being overly mature and overly responsible, etc. And of course, to outsiders, oh, they're so laid back. They're just chill all the time. To their parents, they may say, wow, you got a really laid back kid, not understanding that this is just an act being put on because the kid has abdicated trying to show who he or she really is. Nobody wants to hear that. And also sometimes they'll pick up those verbal or nonverbal cues, sometimes subtle or not so subtle, that nobody wants to know. This especially will be doled out very easily by narcissistic parents, letting the child know, no, your needs are secondary to what mother and father want. So even though inside there's a deep wound, it's coming from a place of lack. Or you can have an invisible child truly trying to be invisible because they're thinking, what's the point anyhow? And they may isolate, retreat somehow, be very introverted, and sometimes even go into clinical depression. It just depends on the severity. Being invisible doesn't mean that they're quiet or somehow subdued. Not at all. They could be extra competitive, perhaps, even at school, competing in all kinds of things. Almost a sense of perfectionism, wanting to come in first, or just perfectionism in life in general, maybe even a bit OCD-ish at home. Or they could believe that they're responsible for making other people happy, become a big people pleaser, or having big anger issues, even explosive tempers, because their needs are not getting met after all. They're pissed off. They don't have the words for being pissed off. They may not even understand that they're pissed off or why they're pissed off, but of course they are because they're being ignored. For sure they're going to have low self-esteem or self-worth because the kid who feels invisible can't help but wonder, do I really even matter here? And of course, then along with that, there's going to be a problem verbalizing their feelings, talking about themselves. If you're not helped to put things into words when you're young and have a safety net and your parents wanting to hear you and that you share with them and they mirror back to you what you're saying, if you're denied all that, then you don't know how to verbalize your feelings. And when you try, it may be tough going. So the invisible child may likely grow up feeling very alone in the world and that nobody really understands them. And of course, nobody may really understand them because nobody tried to get to understand them. then it's common as a way to numb these feelings. Addiction issues may show up later in life as well. Another common way an invisible child may show up in a family is if they have a sibling who has a lot of special needs. Now, this could be just a sibling who's behaviorally out of control, in trouble all the time with the law, running away a lot, etc., or using drugs, or a really strong, big personality, a lot of needs with that personality. And so everybody tends to focus on that child. It could be in a good way that they're just very loud and extroverted, or it could be a loud personality in terms of some sort of emotional disorder, or a sibling who's chronically sick, perhaps for years. Of course, the parents, maybe extended family, etc., are going to focus on this child's needs. And of course, that has to be done to a point. But it's important to remember for parents who are focusing on one child, be cautious in trying not to create the invisible child syndrome in one of your other children. You have to talk to them. You have to communicate with all your kids, especially if you have another child with special needs, to see how they're dealing with this. What's it like for them? What's it like for you to see your brother or sister sick all the time, or acting out all the time, or running away all the time, or doing drugs? There needs to be a lot of family meetings, family communication about this. In many of my videos, I oftentimes focus on emotional incest, which of course relates to this. A child is so in the role of fulfilling the emotional needs for their parents that all identity development gets thwarted, and in this process, the child feels very invalidated, hence invisible. So if you're a parent out there, be aware of this. If you're just very focused on your own needs and not paying attention to your kid or kids, this may very well be occurring. Or as I mentioned, if you have one of your children who's any type of special needs, so to speak, in any type of way, and all the focus, either good or bad, is going to one particular child, then what's going on with the other children? If you're a healthy parent, you're going to want to explore this and figure it out. Would love to hear any comments you may have about this. Please leave them below in the comment section. Please subscribe to my mental health YouTube channel if you like these kind of videos. And until next week, this is Brad Shore signing off from Ask a Shrink.